Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Marlie's Corner, a weekly Instagram live show where we come to you straight from the paw.com offices, hanging out in Marlie's favorite spot here, which we famously named Marlie's Corner. This week we have a really cool guest who was supposed to be on last week, but I mean, duty calls, right? In his profession, when duty calls, you answer. We have Sergeant Mark Tappan, who's a 15-year veteran of the police force, and hopefully we get to see his canine partner of 5 years, Mattis. They're a great combo, and we're really excited to get them on. So, without further ado, let's try to get them connected here. And as usual, don't forget, please leave a comment or ask a question in the comments below for your chance to win a $50 paw.com gift card. So we'll get this connected, and here we go. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
We're doing good.
Hey, we're glad we could catch you this week. I know last week, something came up, but hey, as I said, that's part of the job, right?
Yeah, I feel so bad. You guys are so awesome to have me back.
No, don't feel bad at all. We totally understand it. And actually, it turned out to be a pretty funny show because it was like off the cuff, and we had just a random viewer come on as a guest, so it was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm very happy it worked out.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And maybe for everybody watching, you can just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. My name is Mark Tappan and Mattis. Come here. Up. This is my retired now police dog, Mattis. And he is the best dog I've ever trained. I absolutely love him. He's incredible. He's intuitive and makes me look a lot better than I am. I've worked with him for the past 6 years. He is about to turn 8 in May. And he had a pretty illustrious career, doing all kinds of neat stuff. I was awarded a Purple Heart for Valor, got Officer of the Year, Director's Award, most highly decorated dog in our history. And then he got the opportunity to go up on America's Top Dog on A&E a couple of years ago. We won our episode, which was really cool. And 8 seconds separated us in the Champions Edition, so we lost by 8 seconds to an awesome dog team. And yeah, he's been in all kinds of movies and TV shows, and all kinds of fun stuff has come about because dogs are amazing. And I think that's what's so cool about you guys is obviously you're highlighting the bond that you and Marlie have, and the bridge that dogs create is just incredible. And I have loved every second of working with this amazing dog.
That's great. That's great. I mean, talk about resume, right? For a dog. I'm lucky if I could get Marlie to come here and sit down, and you have Mattis over there when you're getting Purple Hearts, and that's incredible. How did you, Mark? How did you get into law enforcement?
Well, law enforcement was something I've always had a strong sense of justice. I don't like seeing people get mistreated or treated unfairly. And then if you add in, I love people and I want to serve people. So because of those things, law enforcement seemed like a good move for me. And I actually went into the Marine Corps with the intent of getting prepared to go into law enforcement. I kind of took a sidetrack and went into ministry for about 10 years, which turned out to really help me out for law enforcement because it gave me some maturity and some compassion, empathy on people's situations and stuff. So it was fantastic.
That's awesome. That's great. And I'm assuming during that time, because I've been reading up that you're a 15-year veteran and you've only been together with Mattis now for 5 years. So how did you guys meet? How did that partnership start?
Well, I remember I was going to select a dog, and it was right after I had given up my first dog, and I went through a trainer school, and I had trained a whole bunch of Malinois, and I love Malinois. And there's this one particular Malinois that my Jeff Franklin, who taught my trainer school, he had like this 70-pound amazing little Malinois, and she was super social, but had great drives for work. and I really loved that dog, especially because it was like small and manageable, and I'm not a big guy, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be perfect. And so I went to Alabama to test dogs from this one vendor called K9. And I started testing all these dogs, and they had some beautiful mouths and some beautiful shepherds. And then this humongous, just massive German Shepherd got out of the car, and I'm like, oh no, not that one. It's too big. And then I tested him, and he was off the charts. He was just unbelievable. And then you could tell, like, he just would lock eyes with you, and it seemed like there was definitely something going on behind the eyes. And then they said he was super social, and I'm like, oh, this is incredible. And so I was like, I have to have this dog. So in the last step of the test that I do are actually I put on the bite suit, and I take bites from all the dogs, and every single dog came up and bit me, and they did a great job. And then he bit me, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've never been bit so hard in that suit ever. And so I was like, that's my dog.
It was an instant match made in heaven, hey?
That's right, because he bit me hard.
That's great. Tell us, I'm curious, I'm sure people at home are too, what's a typical day for you and Mattis look like? How does that work?
Yeah, so typical now he stays at home,
right.
The first day.
Maybe
Thursday.
before.
But before, we would go in. It's kind of funny, too, because yesterday was the first day that I didn't have him. And so all these gaps were empty, and my routine was different. But I typically go in, and we have like a roll call in the morning where we kind of get assignments, and I tell people where they're going to be or things they need to look out for. And then right after that, I go and I'll do obedience with Mattis, where we'll just spend time together in a field and it's kind of cool. As the sun comes up, we're sitting there, and calls permitting, because sometimes things go nuts and we have to answer, but calls permitting, we'll go into this field as the sun comes up, and we'll just be doing obedience and playing. Some of it is like structured obedience, and a lot of it is just playing games with him. So that's like an hour out of my day where I'm actually playing with my dog to start off the day. And then after that, we go and either answer calls or look for work. And that could be like if someone's taken off, like a kid goes missing in our jurisdiction or surrounding jurisdiction, we can go track them. Or if someone suspects that there's something in a car that's not supposed to be in the car, Mattis can come sniff it and they can ask for us. Or it's just going out into places where there might be high crime and being a presence there and maybe looking for opportunities for Mattis to use his nose. Or anything in progress that could be really dangerous, we would be dispatched to those. So, and then in between those times, I'm always looking for time to spend training, getting out in the community and making connections, public demonstrations. Like we do tons of stuff at schools, doing demonstrations and let people meet him. And then you got to work in a little bit of Instagram or TikTok time.
Right.
But that's pretty much a typical day.
That's
if there is
cool.
a typical day.
I love the fact that you say you try to spend an hour playing, because these are working dogs. They're serious, but at the end of the day, they are still dogs, right? They still want that connection, that love, and that fun.
Yep.
So that's really awesome that you do that. And my next question was going to be, what kind of value and support does a canine bring to your job? But you answered a lot of those. Just the sniffing, using of the nose, but even in dangerous situations, and a lot of education, right? And it's one of those that, like, I've told people in the past that Mattis, if you just look at him as a tool, I think you're selling it super short. But if you look at him just as a tool, he paid for himself through arrests, seized money, things like that in the first 2 weeks that he was on the street. Wow. And that's, you're talking about a dog that costs $15,000 plus all the equipment, car, outfitted door popper system, leashes, harnesses, all the other stuff. You're probably looking at about $65,000. And because of his work, he paid for himself. And that's just as a tool. And I think the thing that really sets him apart and the value that he brings, and I tried to highlight in our career, was the community relations aspect. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe we're sitting here at over 200,000 followers on Instagram. We have 3.7 million on TikTok.
And it's just all about bringing people together. So I think that's like, I tell my handlers that there's 3 parts to our job. We have to be excellent in the way that we train. We have to be excellent in the way that we deploy our dogs. And then we have to be excellent community relations. And dogs create such a bridge that is just not there if you don't have them. So I'm most proud of that.
That's great. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Is there anything, Mark, like a story that sticks out to you being like the craziest thing that's ever happened with you and Mattis?
So this is one of the not so popular, but it scared me. It was kind of funny. It was the first like apprehension he ever had, and you get lots of alarm calls as a police officer, and about, I'd say 99.9% of alarm calls are not real alarms. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you have a tendency where you can get complacent going to an alarm. And we went to this one house that was, the person told us it had been broken into, but they weren't sure when. And so it was like all these things that were kind of just didn't make sense. So I wasn't really on high alert, but I was like, you know what? It's a great rep for my dog, right? So I'll get my dog out and I'll let him use his nose to see if he can find someone that's inside. Before we do that, we always we give commands to let someone know that, hey, we're coming in, we have a dog. Please let us know if you're in there. And I went to the back, and there was forced entry, but like I said, since they said they didn't know when it happened, I really didn't expect anyone to be in there. And no one made a sound when I made announcements, and we have to make announcements like 3 different times and wait a period of time to make sure that nothing accidental happens. Right. And so we make the announcements, no one says anything, and so we go in, and I send Madison, and he does this, like, goes back and forth, and then I can tell he smells someone and takes a beeline for the back room. And so I'm following Mattis, trying to keep up with him, and he is laying down at this humongous pile of clothes in a closet. And I'm coming around the corner, and I'm looking at this pile of clothes, and then I see a pair of eyeballs underneath the pair, like,
oh my
like,
God.
oh, right? And it's so I'm scared. I'm like, I see you, come out, you know? And they don't move. And I'm like, you need to come out. And so I don't know if they have a gun or a knife or what.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, all right, Mattis, grab him. And so Mattis jumps into the pile of clothes and pulls out this guy, and basically saved us from getting hurt. And it blew me away to see those set of eyeballs underneath the clothes, and then Mattis to dive into the clothes and pull them out. And then we were able to take him into custody. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure you got lots of stories like that where Mattis was super brave and really helped you, you know, in your job. Can we see Mattis quickly?
Yeah, for sure. Mattis, come here. Let me flip around. You actually see all the dogs.
Oh,
Mattis,
wow, look at that. It's a whole pack.
Los. Seats. Can you say hi? Post. Post. Live. Post. Oh, that's like a boy.
Hey. Awesome. Well, Mark, we got some questions for you, if you don't mind, from the viewers. And Jeff behind the camera has been manning all the comments, so he's gonna fire off a couple.
Let's do it.
Related question: why did Mattis retire? And then, will you still be working with him at home now?
So he's coming up on 8 years old, and he's a big dog. And so it takes, I was explaining to someone today, like, you got to consider just the day-to-day work of being a police dog. Just jumping up and out of the car takes a toll on him, especially him being a big dog. And then even driving around in the car, he has this big kennel space. He's basically engaging his core for 12 hours straight every day, right? And so that it creates, like, that's a lot of stress. They're professional athletes is basically what they are. They have to stay in a certain kind of shape. They're on a special diet to be able to go out and do this job. So it's extremely intense. And maybe, 8 years old might not sound old, but that is about the average working age of a dog, especially his size. I noticed that he wouldn't run up the steps as fast as he used to. And so I took him to the doctor, and he has just a little bit of arthritis on his back. It's consistent with his age. But it was one of those that I could have kept working him because his drive will overcome his pain.
Right.
But that would hurt his quality of life. And he's my best friend. And so I'm not going to do that to my best friend. Yeah. I'm going to, like, the first signs, I'm going to say, well, this is safest for him. So even though it stinks for me that I don't get to go to work with my best friend, it's better for him. And then I think there was a second part. What was the second part?
The second part is will you still be working with him at home? So Mattis will still live with you and be your dog?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I'm trying to, because you want to still engage their brains and their nose together, because that's what he loves. Like you were talking about earlier, that even work to him is just a big game. And so I just have to he loves his life as a working dog. And so I have to be sure that I'm engaging him still, just not as rigorous now that he's at home.
And then sort of related, you sort of maybe answered it, but who makes the call for a canine to retire? The handler or the department? But it sounds like it was really your call. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I was over the unit. He is my dog, so I have the most authority in that, but the department could have said no.
Right. What's the thing you'll miss the most about not going to work with Mattis every day?
You know, it's the little stuff. I noticed yesterday at work, and this sounds so silly, but I'm so used to having him with me. But when I throw the vehicle into park, he immediately jumps up and spins around in a circle, and that wasn't there. Like, it was absent. That was a part that was absent from me. I was getting something out of the back of the car, and his ears didn't pop up to look at me, and that hit me. I got in the car and I reached back just to pet him, and he wasn't there. Like, it's the little stuff that for the last 8 years, I've had a dog in the car with me. And so not having that, it's going to be hard. The mornings where we go out and do obedience with the sunrise, those were pretty special times. Yeah. So that's the stuff that's going to impact me, and did yesterday for sure.
Are you going to get another canine partner in the future?
I am not with the city, and not while I have Mattis, because Mattis might not get along with another dog. And then my rank won't allow me at the city that I'm at to get another dog.
And which city is that, by the way? Because I didn't see on our brief where you're located.
Alpharetta, Georgia, just north of Atlanta.
Gotcha. All right.
Come here.
And someone else asked is, based on your experience now, when you're done with the police force, would you ever consider becoming like a full-time dog trainer?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I do a little bit on the side already, and then I'm hoping, like, I've gotten to go to some conferences and teach, and that's been fantastic. And I really would. I think we have to an extent left a mark on the canine community, but I'd love to make even more by sharing the little bit of knowledge that I've gathered over my career with other people.
Well, it's clear that the knowledge is well accepted with the following that you've gained, on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all the social media accounts. So you're doing something that people want to see and absorb. Absolutely. Jeff, we got more questions that we probably can get to today. We could be on here all day. Let's take one more.
Well, one more. Do all police dogs stay with their partners after they retire, or is that something that you chose to do with Mattis?
Yeah, not necessarily. My first dog, Nico, I had him for 2 years, and he went blind in his left eye. And so he had to retire from police work at 6 years old. And I went and got Mattis, and they didn't get along. And I wanted to remain in canine at the time. And since they didn't get along, I didn't want to have to just keep them separated. I wanted Nico to have a nice life, and I wanted Mattis to have a good working life. So I have a trainer friend of mine that he actually went to live with and became a stud dog, which is not a bad retirement, really.
Yeah, not bad.
No comment.
But yeah, there's options. Like we had another handler that his dog had to be medically retired, and he already had his first working dog, so they couldn't really coexist with 3 working dogs in the house. And so a awesome organization, Project Canine Hero, actually took him and adopted him out.
Awesome. All right.
Well, we got a lot more. You have a lot of fans, Mark, and Mattis has a lot of fans. So people love what you do. They love seeing you on Top Dog. They really appreciate, based on the comments, that you took the initiative to let Mattis retire before he would get hurt because he was starting to age, and just there's a lot of love for both you and Mattis. So if we had another 3 hours, we could answer all the questions.
Still be going. But Sergeant Mark Tappan and K9 legend Mattis, thank you guys for taking your time and speaking with us today. We truly appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much for having us. Sorry it didn't work out last week, but I'm glad it worked out.
Hey, no worries. We're happy that it did. Have a good rest of your day. Happy weekend. Thank you guys for tuning in, and catch us next week. Marlie's already out, but so that's our time to tune out there when she flops over. All right, guys. Well, thank you again, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.